Awesome. Hey, brother.
Hey, Al. How's it going?
Great, thanks. Welcome, everyone, back this week to another episode of Siblings in Crime. I'm Ali Rosso.
And I'm Blake Murphy.
And just as it sounds, we are siblings who love true crime.
Yes, love it.
Literally not creative at all. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yep.
Well, we are back. This week's case is going to be a lot. So, before we get into it, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, all things. We love getting requests for cases. So if you haven't yet, please let us know. Yeah,
and we gained a lot of new followers for our standards. So thanks for following. Share with your friends, your family, your enemies, everyone.
Yeah, you can love them, hate them, doesn't matter. Send it over.
Yes. Also, this case was like one of the first cases that I listened to get me into true crime. And I kind of forgot everything about it, so it's kind of fun to listen to.
Yeah, this week's case, we're going to be looking into the case of Hae Min Lee and Adnan Syed. So it's a story that's been discussed, dissected, debated forever. It's been re-examined time and time again. What you'll hear today is very surface level rundown of the evidence and events that are all based around this story. It's everything based on my own personal research. If you want a full deep dive into every twist, contradiction, all the courtroom details, then I definitely recommend going over to Serial, which is the podcast that really got this case famous and kind of true crime. Yeah, exactly. I highly recommend listening to that. But here we'll talk a rundown of the big picture and from the crime to the conviction to the cracks in the story and where the case actually stands today.
Ooh.
Like I said, the podcast Serial actually was debuted in October 2014 and quickly became the first podcast to hit 5 million downloads on iTunes, believe it or not. I didn't even know podcasts were a thing when iTunes was around.
Mm-hmm.
It was also the first time a true crime case was presented in this long form, serialized narrative style format. And it drew worldwide attention. And so like Blake said, many people think this is the true crime case of true crime that got the attention of the world. So
yes,
it's going to be a lot. We're going to run through all the evidence, what we think of each different contradiction, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Any thoughts before
I was
we go
to say
it?
This case, Criminal Minds and Forensic Files got me into true crime. So.
Oh my gosh. Literally, Forensic Files is a must every time I'm in a hotel. I don't care if I've seen all the Forensic Files. I walk into hotel rooms boom, Forensic Files.
Yep.
So, like I said, this is the case of Hae Min Lee and Adnan Syed. Adnan Syed.
Or something like that.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's roll. Of course, we're going to start off with the case, and then we'll roll into the evidence. So it's January 13th, 1999, and the halls of Woodlawn High School in Baltimore County are buzzing with the rhyme and the rhythm of another ordinary school day. Just a regular old classic day. Students crowd the lockers, teachers shuffle into classrooms, and everyone is counting the hours until the final bell. For Hae Min Lee, a bright, outgoing senior, the afternoon plan was simple. After school, she needed to go down to the elementary school down the street, pick up her 6-year-old cousin from kindergarten, and take that cousin home. Hae was the kind of girl that people could depend on. She was responsible, reliable, and she had never once failed her family in these type of responsibilities, like picking up her cousin.
Mm-hmm.
But that afternoon, Hae never showed up. At first, her family tried to stay calm, as they always do. You don't ever want to think worst case scenario. Maybe her car had broken down. Maybe she got held up at school. But as the hours ticked by, worry turned into fear. By evening, they were calling her friends, her classmates, anyone who might have known where she was at or where she had gone. By the next morning, January 14th, when Hae still hadn't come home, her parents filed an official missing persons report. Police were alerted and investigation began immediately. One day, she was a high school senior on a normal Wednesday, and by the next, Hae Min Lee was a missing person. For weeks, Hae's family held on to hope. Flyers went up around Baltimore. Her classmates spread the word, hoping she might turn up. Police interviewed students, friends, family, but nothing concrete held. Then, now February 9th, 1999, so we're almost a month later, nearly 4 weeks after she vanished, a man driving through Lincoln Park, a stretch of wooded land in Baltimore, known for crime and body dumping. No joke. Pretty intense.
Yeah, that's creepy.
He pulled over. This is actually kind of funny to me. He pulls over his car to just take a quick pee.
That guy sounds suspicious to
I
me.
know. I know.
It's like, I'm going to go to where bodies are dumped, and I'm going to take a pee on my way.
I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a boy, but how bad do you have to go to, like, pull over instead of, like, oh, I'm sure there's a gas station coming up or anything. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know Baltimore, but I know in California there's no bathrooms anywhere.
Is there not? Or, like, public bathrooms?
Yeah, so I
Maybe.
understand that. But in Arizona,
Like
there's a
every
lot
stop.
of bathrooms. So
Yeah, every corner there's a place to go to the bathroom.
yeah, that's one reason, like, I don't like going to California sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never thought of that being a factor. I have never ever even noticed
Or
that.
because there's no ice drinks.
That's so funny. Ice needs to sponsor us. You have like 17 on our table every time we do a podcast.
All right, continue.
So yeah, seems odd. He pulls over. He jumps out to go relieve himself in a bush, and he noticed something strange. It was a mound of dirt, disturbed dirt, and what looked like a human foot. We knew where this was going. Police descended on the area, and when they uncovered the site, they confirmed what everyone feared. It was Hae Min Lee. She had been hastily buried in a shallow grave. The medical examiner ruled her death homicide by manual strangulation. Like I said, like Lincoln Park wasn't just like an ordinary stretch of forest. And I don't know. I'm not from Baltimore. I don't know anything about Baltimore. So if you know this place better, let me know if this is actually true from Google.
What's it called?
Lincoln Park, Leakin. So evidently, locals call it a dumping ground. For decades, bodies have been pulled from its woods, like literally like 60 plus bodies. So many that people grimly joke that it's where the city hid its dead people. Police knew whenever Lincoln Park came up in a call, it rarely meant anything good. And so like for Hae's family, they hear this and they immediately know it's not good news. Their nightmare was real. And this wasn't just a runaway. This wasn't like teenage rebellion. Their daughter had been murdered. And almost immediately, investigators began asking a familiar set of questions. Who was close to her? Who had wanted her dead? Like, all the things. Like, where was she supposed to be on that day? And that's when it dives into the case of Adnan Syed.
So it says there's been over 75 deceased individuals that have been found in or near the park between 1946 and 2017. That's a decent amount.
Yeah, that's a decent amount. I feel like there's few
Actually,
places.
it's kind of a lot. It's like every year, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a lot. How big is the park? Because it seems like I don't know of any other place that has that many, is known for bodies being dumped there.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know how big it is.
later.
And because if it's like Times Square, you know, like Central Park, that's massive. I can see that being a very similar situation as this Baltimore Lincoln Park. But
I think it's like decently sized, but it looks, those are all the bodies.
oh my gosh, that's crazy. You have to
Yeah.
send me that. We'll put it up for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, they learned that Hae had recently ended a relationship with her classmate, Adnan Syed, a popular, well-liked student at Woodlawn High. Adnan wasn't just her boyfriend, I guess. He had been like her secret first serious love. Their relationship was intense and passionate and complicated by the fact that Adnan's family was very devout Muslim. Mm-hmm. And so in their culture and religion, he wasn't supposed to be dating girls at this age. He wasn't, I think they were like to the point of arranged marriage. So he wasn't supposed to be really involved with girls at all. Mm. And so this became kind of a conflict in their relationship, and it was well known that they had to be very secretive. He was very worried about this secret getting out to his family, to anyone that would tell his family. Like, so it had to be they had like late night calls. Like, it was like kind of like he lived
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like, some people say it was like he was living two lives. Like at home, he was very devout. He was like leading the prayers, and that kind of lifestyle. But then at school, he kind of had the stereotypical high school, like he had the girlfriend, he was smoking the weed, he was like doing all the things that like is your movie high school experience.
Bully.
I don't know if it was bully.
I'm
He
just
sounded
kidding.
like he was so nice. And it's actually interesting to hear
kidding.
all the different interviews and stuff, though. Everyone's like, he was the town golden star. Like,
Yeah.
he played football. He was in track. He was like the homecoming king, even though he wasn't supposed to go to homecoming.
Yeah.
All those type of things. So he was kind of breaking the rules to be together. To police, they were young lovers whose breakup might have carried some dangerous weight. With a body on the ground and a grieving family demanding answers, detectives turned their attention toward the boy who had once been closest to Hae. Adnan was just 17 years old at the time, a senior. And by almost every measure, he was thriving, like I said. But Adnan also carried like that dual identity, which ended up kind of being pinned against him, that he was capable of having this like almost split personality according to the prosecutors.
I feel like most teenagers do that.
Yeah, like a goody good at home and then do whatever you want. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's not very out of character for teenagers.
Yeah.
But it's a bad timing for him to be doing this considering what has unfolded. Like I said, she wasn't just his girlfriend. She was his first serious love. And their relationship had been like the passing hidden notes and all that stuff. But when they broke up, Hae quickly started to date someone new.
Ooh.
That new boyfriend, his name was Don, and he was 22 years old at the time.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so that seems very odd.
Don sounds like a weirdo.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. They were actually coworkers. So that's how they met at
Kinda
Lens
like John.
Crafters. What?
Nothing. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, watch it. At this place called Lens Crafters. He was older, obviously. He was like 4 years older. I think she had just turned 18. So wasn't as illegal. But, I mean, she's in high school. It's pretty weird for a 22-year-old to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But he was older, had his own job, and represented like a whole new world outside of high school.
He was a man.
He was a man. Girls love that. To investigators, this detail obviously mattered. In their eyes, Adnan wasn't just an ex-boyfriend. He was like this teenager suddenly replaced by this older man, and that just made him like potential suspect for a clear motive being jealousy. Hae was very good at keeping a journal. She wrote regularly, which every time I see cases like that, I'm like, I should start journaling just because you never know when you're going to need your journal.
Yeah.
While she was dating Adnan, she would talk about how she loved him so much and how sweet he was, and overall was like super lovey-dovey, very normal for a girl journal. I've gone back to my high school journals, and it's like I barely have a crush on someone. I'm like, I'm in love. Like, yeah, it's like not abnormal for girls that age to think like love is so normal and fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's like funny looking back, but it's embarrassing at the same time.
Yeah.
So she was like super like, why are you laughing?
Nothing. I was thinking about.
She was just super lovey-dovey over Adnan, actually. But the tone slightly shifts after the breakup, as you would expect. They broke up. Blake, will you read actually these journal entries? So there's two that are highlighted from the prosecution in late 1998, and then also like about her breakup. So there's these two separate ones, and they're italicized.
I love him to death. I honestly want to be with him.
Wait, restart. I was talking over you.
I love him to death. I honestly want to be with him, but I just don't think that I can. It's so hard to explain, but I know that it's not what I want. It's not as if I don't like him. It's just what he wants is different. On the breakup, her feelings about him afterwards. He's a great guy, really sweet, but he's so possessive. I need to be strong and stand my ground. I'm trying to do what's best for me.
What do you think about this?
Sounds like it's someone who's very passionate and possessive, and something that the investigators and prosecutors can make sound like someone who would act out and do some kind of crime of passion.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, she's like, sounds like, I love him. He's great. He's all this stuff. But then she has like
also
this.
Sounds like high school girl too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, love him, but not moving on.
Right. True. Yeah, I thought that was interesting how she talks about the possessive side. One thing that Hae's friends later say in different interviews is that they would have girl nights, right? Super normal, little GNO. And he would just like pop up. Like he would come over, and they say it, like all the friends were saying, like kind of bothered them because they'd be trying to hang out with their friend, and he was always trying to show up at wherever Hae was. And I guess it didn't seem like it bothered Hae at the time. Like she was like, "Oh, he's so sweet. Like he brought us carrot cake," you know, like. But that relationship definitely can turn sour depending on the person if it is as possessive as like a dangerous type of possession, right?
Yeah.
So although like Hae and Anand's relationship was like super lovey-dovey, it carried a weight that neither could escape, and that's like Anand's religion. Better said, like that kind of double life we talked about. He was obedient son and then a secret boyfriend. And that's one thing that Hae mentions in later journal entries is that it kind of felt like they had a expiration date, because I guess Anand had said that like he's supposed to have an arranged marriage and he wants to marry in his culture and his religion, and she wasn't part of that religion. And so for her, she's like, okay, well, we're in love, we're dating, all this stuff, just for it to end anyways if you're going to marry another Muslim. And so it kind of causes friction. I think that is what she meant by they wanted different things, which totally makes sense, leading her to end up breaking up with Anand. Outside of religious and cultural differences, Anand's tendency to check up on her consistently and regularly paging her. We're back to paging.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was regularly paging.
What year is this?
This is in the 90s, 99. But it sounds like they would page and then be like, oh, okay, now it's the coast is clear to call. And they would do a silent call at like really late at night on landlines. But it sounds like he was regularly paging her, like I said, showing up to girls' nights. And all this was all a little overwhelming. And honestly, those are like important things to look forward, like in relationships. Like, it's very important to still be able to have your relationship with your girlfriends or your guy friends and not be taken away from your family relationships. And so I think she kind of was pretty smart about her actions in terms of if she felt like she was getting pulled away from her friends or her family, or if there was no future to the relationship, it's totally understandable where she's coming from. So in her mind, it was a little too protective, a little too possessive.
Yeah.
And as much as she loved him, she felt like she was being smothered. For detectives, the picture was beginning to form. A popular young man hiding a double life is simply dumped and thrown aside for an older man. It was the perfect setup for a crime of passion, like you said. And soon, they'd find a witness willing to back up that story.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. As detectives pieced together Hae's last day, one detail caught their attention. So, Anand's cell phone records. They immediately get all those records. On January 13th, his phone had been active.
Wait, why does he have a cell phone? I thought he had a pager.
He has a pager and a cell phone. It's like the same thing as last week where he had a pager and a cell phone.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Cell phones, it seems like they weren't used unless it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Pager's like, hey, call me. It's like paging was the text.
Yeah.
Cell phone was for calls.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. So his phone had been active, though, making calls and pinging towers around the city. And when investigators traced who he had been in contact with, it led them to a guy named Jay Wilds. Jay is going to be a huge character in today's story.
Jay Wild?
Yeah, Wilds.
Wilds.
Jay wasn't Anand's like best friend. It's not like they were hanging out super regularly, but they would get
Acquaintances?
I would say more than acquaintances. They would like smoke weed a lot together. And so they would like hang out a little bit, but they weren't. At this point, Jay was already graduated. So it's not like they were hanging out at school and sports or anything like that. They would kind of recreationally hang out every so often.
Yeah.
When police brought Jay in, what he told them would change the course of the investigation.
What did you do then?
We left the mall. I took him to school and waited for him to call.
Here.
Yes,
And why is that?
because he said he was going to kill Hae.
And the reason you have the car and the cell phone was why?
To pick him up from wherever he was going to do this.
Okay. And you had talked about this while you were shopping that day?
The details of the car and all.
The events, how they were going to plan out.
That day he told me, yes, he told me, I'm going to leave you with my cell phone and my car. I need you to come get me. Yes.
After
he had killed Hae, yes.
Okay.
I noticed that Hae wasn't with him. I parked next to him. He asked me to get out the car. I get out the car. He asked me, am I ready for this? And I say, ready for what? And he takes the keys, he opens the trunk, and all I can see is like Hae's lips are all blue, and she's like pretzeled up in the back of the trunk, and she's dead.
For investigators, it was like the golden breakthrough. You're like, oh, that is like the exact confession that every detective, I'm sure, dreams of.
Yeah, he sounds sketchy.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's trying to get away with murder to me.
It sounds weird. Oh, you say Jay is trying to get away with murder? Yeah, I was like, it sounds...
Like just pin it on someone else.
Yeah.
Who the cops want to be pinned on.
That's interesting. Like, oh, you're curious about this guy? Yeah, let me highlight how, incriminating this actually is.
Yeah.
Jay's story explained the timeline, provided a witness to the crime, and offered a motive that seemed obvious, obviously. Like, Adnan couldn't handle seeing Hae with someone else. That's like every crime in the book, right? Mm-hmm. With Jay's testimony, investigators finally had a narrative that turned suspicion into accusation. I think I say that wrong every time. And soon, they would find evidence that appeared to back him up. So, Jay's story alone was powerful, right? It's like, oh, he's there. He's even putting himself involved.
Yeah.
Right? But detectives knew a jury would want more than just this guy saying some statements. Mm-hmm. They needed something more scientific, more hardcore evidence. And that's when Adnan's cell phone records came in. Not just his records, but the pinging data. Mm-hmm. On January 13th, the day Hae disappeared, Adnan's phone made and received a series of calls, each one connected through different cell towers across Baltimore. To investigators, these pings kind of created like a map. And when they laid that next to Jay's story, the pieces seemed to actually line up with his story of where he was located when the phone calls were going off. Jay explained why he had Adnan's car and phone that day, and according to him, Adnan had let him the car and stuff that morning as part of Adnan's plan. So according to Jay, Adnan was planning that he wouldn't have his car that day in order to get a ride from Hae from school. He's like, you take my car so I don't have it. I'll ask Hae for a ride. And then he would murder her. Once that was done, he would call Jay to come grab him. Seems like a very bold claim. Mm-hmm. And also, like, that's like you're just assuming that your ex-girlfriend's going to for sure take you somewhere. I don't know. It just seems like they had a lot of factors had to be in their favor for that story to play out so casually. And that's exactly what Jay said actually happened. Later that afternoon, he claimed Adnan called him from the Best Buy parking lot on a payphone. And when Jay arrived, Adnan had popped the trunk of Hae's car open, and inside was her body. From there, the two drove to Lincoln Park, where Jay testified Adnan forced him to help dig that shallow grave. Investigators then looked into the phone records. One call in particular stood out. An incoming call just after 7 p.m. that connected through the tower near Lincoln Park. To prosecutors, this was their smoking gun. Like, okay, we have Jay's testimony saying that they're here at Lincoln Park. We have a phone record saying that there was a ping near the park. So they're like, this is it. And for the state, that was like all they needed. Jay's testimony, cell phone data, backing each other up. Together, they painted a picture that looked pretty airtight for them. A jealous ex-boyfriend who killed his former girlfriend showed the body to his friend and then buried her in Baltimore's most notorious dumping ground. But Adnan told a very different story when he was presented with these facts. When detectives questioned him, Adnan admitted his memory of the day was fuzzy, which is like his downfall.
Yeah.
You can't have a fuzzy memory, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He said...
Sounds pretty bad so far.
Right. Everything's not looking good for him.
Yeah.
Well, this is what's weird is when he was... he told detectives that he went to school.
He told?
He told. He told that he went to school. He then went to track practice that afternoon. And then he went to mosque that evening. As for why Jay had his car and phone, Adnan said it was simple and that Jay's girlfriend, her name was Stephanie, is also a really good friend of Adnan's, and that it was Stephanie's birthday. And so he was letting Jay borrow his car and phone to go to get a birthday present for his girlfriend.
Yeah. I wonder if Jay's bad.
Jay seems kind of suspicious, just
Yeah.
like how involved he is. You know, they always try to put themselves in the story.
Mm-hmm.
He insisted there was nothing unusual about the day and that he's done it plenty of times before. It's not uncommon for him to lend out his car or his phone. And when pressed further about the events of the day, Adnan was using verbiage like, I probably did this, like, most likely I was doing this, which honestly...
It's probably how I would be if it wasn't a significant day and they're like, what were you doing? And I was like, I'd be like,
All right, Blake, what did you do on Tuesday, August 5th of this month? That was...
I have no idea.
Well, think a little bit.
What day? What was supposed to happen that day?
Well, I'm just saying. I just want you to see if you can piece anything together of what you did that day.
I don't know. I don't think I did anything.
And then imagine that with, like, you don't have any technology the same way. Like, you can't look up old texts, old photos. You can't look at anything that might jog your memory a little bit. If it really was as insignificant of a day as he's saying, of course you're not going to remember a single thing.
Yeah.
That was mine and Brett's anniversary.
Oh, yeah. You went to dinner the night before, or you went and stayed at a hotel.
So what did you do?
I don't remember anything. I think I played some Xbox and studied for my PC.
You probably did those things.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, it's a lot of probably. It's like, oh, like, most likely I was doing this, or like,
Yeah.
because you had a test coming up, you can assume you were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was our anniversary, so I could run through the day pretty well, considering it was significant.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're like, unless you're a regular journaler or something like that, like, especially back then, he's not gonna have any idea. And at this point, it's been at least a month.
Yeah.
Since, like, and he's now getting interrogated, probably like 2 to 4 weeks, and he's like, oh gosh, I don't know what happened on that random Wednesday. So 2 explanations for the same detail of why Jay had his phone and car. Jay's version sounded like a murder plot, and Adnan sounded like an ordinary favor for a friend. And when prosecutors laid those stories next to the cell records, it was clear which one they believed.
Which one they wanted to believe.
Dun, dun, dun.
Just kidding.
True, though. I mean, like, they want to close this case. They want to get justice for the family.
Yeah.
It seems like one is more obvious than the other. By the time Adnan Syed went to trial in the year 2000, the state had built a story that seemed clear and convincing. The prosecutor painted him as a jealous ex-boyfriend, unable to accept the fact that Hae has moved on so quickly. I think she was already dating the new guy in a month. So it was, like, pretty fast. They learned of the diary entries, which we read some of them, but they went through all of her diary, which I'd be so embarrassed. I'm like, poor girl having to read that to the whole jury, like, knowing all that. That would suck.
Yeah, but
Obviously, it's to help her case. But I'd just be so embarrassed, like,
Not
knowing
there.
if I got murdered and then they're going through all my stuff. I'm like, oh, this is so
the
embarrassing.
cutter's hog.
Oh, my God. That is so funny. That is hilarious. I don't think you'll find that name in my journal. But you'll find, like, Austin Colmore back then. That is so funny. Okay. Yeah, but that's, like, so embarrassing. That's, like, very personal, obviously. But I mean, I guess anything to solve her case, she would have been okay with. Are you over that yet?
Yeah.
And so she described her feelings towards her ex-boyfriend and her current boyfriend. And to the jurors, it was a classic story of young love turned toxic. Then came the star witness. On the stand, Jay Wilds. He recounted his version of January 13th and everything we've already laid out. To back him up, the state introduced the cell phone records. Prosecutors highlighted the call that pinged near the park. All the things we talked about. One detail, more than almost anything else, gave Jay's story credibility is that he knew where Hae's car was.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So they found Hae's body because of the other random witness, and then they still couldn't find her Nissan Sentra. And for weeks after Hae's disappearance, they still didn't know where it was. Then on February 28th, 1999, acting on the information from Jay, evidently, detectives found the park on Edgewood Avenue, a quiet residential street not actually far from Jay's house, though. The car had a flat tire and looked like it had been sitting for some time. And inside, Hae's personal belongings were all still right there. That, pretty damning.
Yeah. I'm still suspicious of this Jay guy,
Yeah?
but not really. That sounds pretty bad.
Well, it sounds pretty bad. Of course. Well, if you're suspicious of Jay, that would look bad for Jay, too. Why does he know where the car is?
I don't know. He's trying to pin it.
Pin it on and on.
Yeah, or maybe not. I don't know. It just sounds bad in general.
It does sound bad in general. And it was, like, kind of close to Jay's house. And, I mean, it depends on what side of the fence you stand on. But the defense pointed at this being, like, obviously, like, the thing that made Jay credible. But also some people...
The defense or prosecution?
The prosecution made this, like, him being credible.
Yeah.
And some people that are really skeptic are like, well, maybe, one, if it was close to his house, he could have easily just saw it, right? And then also, like, maybe cops knew more than they let on and kind of fed his story a little bit to give it more credibility.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you want to see it. That seems like a pretty big deal, though. Gives him some credibility.
It does.
The defense.
I just don't know why Jay would want to kill her if it wasn't,
Yeah, like why would he have any motive?
Yeah.
If
he wasn't just helping out.
That's true. It's like he doesn't have any reason. Like his story seems more valid that he was helping Adnan than him doing it solo.
Mm-hmm.
The defense pointed out that there was no usable fingerprints or DNA or forensic evidence linking Adnan to the vehicle. Because this is like, obviously 2000 right now. But they didn't have that technology. So they're like, there's nothing concrete that you can pin on their client. But that didn't matter. To jurors, Jay's knowledge of the car location was proof that at least some of his story had to have been true.
Yeah.
And if that part was true, maybe all of it was. The defense countered by pointing out Jay's own involvement, like you've been saying this whole time.
Mm.
In fact, he had a little bit of a shifting timeline that seemed to not be finalized up until he presented in front of the jury.
Mm.
And Adnan's lack of motive beyond like a normal teenage breakup, they're like, there's no other reason. And since then, his teachers have been questioned and his friends, and everyone kind of said, like, of course he was sad about the breakup, but it's not like he was in some spiteful rage.
Mm.
Like, his behavior did not seem to shift all that much after the breakup or after Hae began a new relationship.
Yeah.
Everyone who knew him said that he was completely normal, but without a solid alibi, like, he could not back himself up at all. And with Jay's testimony seemingly corroborating the phone data, the jury sided with the state.
That's what kind of sucks if you're just like being home or like not doing much. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, come up with an alibi. It's like, I was at home.
I know.
I didn't want to go out.
You hear that all the time. Like, oh, I was watching a movie. I went to bed early. It's like,
I guess
oh,
you
weird.
need cameras all over your house, just making sure you're.
That's
actually,
crazy.
I have a bunch of cameras.
Yeah. Look at all my
I'm just
cameras.
thinking of security cameras because I'm going to go set them up in the co-living
That makes
house.
sense.
But it's just like, how else are you going to prove it?
And this time, too, like, you're not having cameras up.
Yeah.
So that's, like, so hard to... No one can back you up. No, if you don't live with anyone, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah. And even if you do live with someone, they could lie, and then the cops can be like, are they lying? Are they covering for you?
Yeah.
Like, you're not... They can't prove you're anywhere.
True. That's tough.
Yeah.
So because of everything you just said, in February of 2000, Adnan Syed was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and robbery.
What happened to the other guy? Did he just get off for testifying?
He got off for testifying. They said that he had...
That's sketchy.
Yeah, he was a credible witness, and so he got immunity. Adnan, however, got life in prison plus 30 years.
Oh, jeez.
For Hae's family, it was justice, obviously. For the community, it seemed tragic, but a solved case. Adnan was just 19 years old at the time, and he was led away in shackles, convicted of murdering the girl he once loved.
Yeah. So we're going to go over the contradicting evidence now?
Yeah. So let's first
Cool.
talk.
Because that sounded pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, let's finish highlighting that. The jury heard like a neat, convincing narrative. Most notable piece of evidence being, one, the motive. He was a jealous ex. Also, of course, Jay's testimony and that he knew where the car was. That one I think is like the worst. If you go on Reddit, everyone who believes that Adnan is guilty, it's like the car. It's always the car.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anything in the car now or like that they could test.
We're actually going to go into that.
Oh, let's go.
Stay tuned. So, of course, Jay knew those specific details that only the killer or someone close to the killer would know. And that kind of became the cornerstone of the state's case against Adnan. So, another thing, obviously, phone call records. Then we have the loaning of Jay's phone and car story. Then Adnan's inconsistent memory / alibi that really gave him no standing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the crucial window was right after school. It was like a 25 to 30 minute window, which is so quick. It was after school and before she was supposed to pick up her cousin from kindergarten. Mm-hmm. So it was like 2:15 to 2:45 is the window they're looking at. And Adnan's
to bury him too?
no, just to murder.
Oh, okay.
He was seen at track practice, although no one can validate a time frame if he was there the whole time or what. Mm. But they say they went back that night and buried her. Mm. Adnan's ability to, and then they also highlight that his personality of being able to like split his devoutness to religion and his like secret life of high school partying. So all these reasons are what sealed his fate. So they locked him up, threw away the key. But as we know now, years later, piece by piece, that story kind of began to get some potential cracks. Mm. And this is all evidence that's come forward. This is all through my own research. And however you want to take this case is however you want it. So, first thing that they since have gone through is the Best Buy payphone. In the state's case, Adnan called Jay from the payphone at Best Buy after the murder, right? He said he was going to come, grab his car, that he opened the trunk, and that Jay saw Hae in the trunk. But the interesting thing is there's no evidence that has surfaced that a payphone even existed at that Best Buy in 1999. So, without the call, Jay's trunk story completely has no ground. Mm-hmm. And now this is not factual that it was or wasn't there. It's just there's no evidence. They had gone through like I don't know what kind of like old data records they have of payphones, but they couldn't find anything that indicated there was. And Best Buy themselves said that they have no record of ever having a payphone at their locations.
Yeah.
So seems a little bit of reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Then they go on to the cell tower evidence. That was like a big thing in the case, saying like, oh, the phone pinged over here. That's a pretty serious situation. So that was like one of the major points that the prosecutors had. However, the phone records themselves warned that incoming calls could not be used for location. So this supposed smoking gun later was found like debunked, that these incoming calls are not accurate when it comes to location detecting.
Only calls going out?
Calls going out more so, yeah. So the fact that the incoming call at 7 o'clock near Lincoln Park was like the thing that really got people all triggered up ended up not being potentially as concrete as the jury was led to believe.
That's bad luck.
That's bad, yeah. That's a bad look.
I said bad luck.
And a bad look. For the bad look is for the defense team who they didn't bring their own like cell phone specialist expert to be able to verify if that was true or not. And they were stating that without the evidence leading to believe one way or the other.
Yeah, and I was saying it's bad luck that it pinged off that one. If
if that wasn't accurate and it just happened to go off that location, that would suck. That is sad. Another thing that was highlighted after the fact, this is years later, is that Jay's story continued to change. In reality, when police picked him up in late February, Jay did not immediately tell like that whole trunk pop and burial story. Okay. His first interviews were very vague. He admitted to being with Adnan that day, but denied knowing anything about the murder originally. It took multiple interviews. His story evolved, right? It started with, at first, he only admitted to being with Adnan after school. Then later, he said Adnan told him that about Hae's death. Eventually, he said he saw the body in the trunk. And then finally, his version solidified into helping bury her in Lincoln Park. And after all that finalizing, that's the story that he went on to tell the jury. That always seems weird to me.
Yeah. It's like hot and cold. He's like, says something, they're like,
Wrong.
you're cold.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I saw in the trunk, you're getting hotter. He's like, okay, I was there. He's like hot, you're hot, you're hot.
He's like, where was she buried? I helped her bury her. What did the news say? Yeah, exactly. So it seems like when stories like that continue to change and evolve, and then it's like all of a sudden polished for the trial, it seems a little put together, maybe a little coerced. But
also it's kind of too where it's like he's a little worried. Maybe he's like, I'm gonna tell him a little bit. I don't want to make myself sound too bad. And they're like,
I don't want to be involved at all at first.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, you're not gonna get in trouble. He's like, all right, I'll tell you everything then.
True. Yeah. So the prosecutors are like, okay, well, he was a very reliable witness. Like, he was telling the truth, nothing more to it. Whereas people who kind of are nitpicking on this, like, well, he had every incentive to make sure his story pointed away from him. They're like, oh, we know you're talking to him. It's like, oh crap, now I'm involved. So what am I going to do to make sure I'm as least involved as possible? And considering Adnan was the ex-boyfriend, that was an easy pin. According to some people. Obviously, this is speculation. We don't know if Jay, I'm not saying Jay's involved whatsoever. However, it just seems kind of weird. Also, there was no physical evidence at the time. So it's interesting to think that there was a lot of things left behind Adnan's shoes and shirts or whatever. And at the time, they couldn't do forensics, right? There was no DNA, nothing. But an interesting thing that I don't think gets mentioned all that much. So take this with a grain of salt, because half my research showed this and the other half didn't. So I don't know if it's completely 100% factual or if it's just not brought up or known as much. But this was really interesting to me. Evidently, in the autopsy, they can see obviously how blood is pooled. And that indicates how the person was positioned for how long of a period of time. When Hae's body was found in Lincoln Park, it was partially buried on her side, not completely covered. So very shallow on her side. At autopsy, medical examiners noted pooling of blood, so livor mortis, in the front of her body and the underside chest face area. But here's the problem. If she had been killed and immediately buried on her side, then the lividity should have matched that position. Or if she was tucked in a trunk for periods of time, right? Instead, the pattern suggested that she had been laying face down for several hours after death, after being placed in that shallow grave. Before being placed in that shallow grave. So, obviously, why does this matter? This directly contradicts Jay's story that he tells. And it says that they went and buried her in Lincoln Park within that short window, or potentially in the evening. And if that was the case, her body wouldn't have pooled in that way. So the blood evidence suggests her body was kept also somewhere else, maybe indoors, flat, face down, for a period of time before the burial. I also say indoors because her body did not have the type of animal activity or weathering you would expect after being left out in the shallow grave for at least 3 weeks. So the fact that there wasn't more animal activity and her body's in fine condition considering she was out in it was snowstorms and stuff. Because of all this, some experts point to this as a major hole in the state's timeline, implying that if Adnan and Jay had buried her quickly or within the first 12 hours or 10 to 12 hours of her passing, the lividity pattern would be different. So, if that is all true, Jay's confession does not line up. So that is always interesting to me because I don't know if it was in the autopsy, so it had been known pretty soon after she had passed, but it was hard to kind of dig up and find this information. So I don't think it's pointed to as often. But if that's the case, that kind of gives you some doubt about Jay's story.
Yeah.
People were blaming tunnel vision for Adnan's arrest and potentially mishandlement of the investigation because of all this. You keep in mind, Adnan was like their only suspect, and they dialed in so hard they didn't even like look into anybody else. That's
But it's
weird.
also probably hard when someone's saying that like they're a witness and they were there
True.
to like be like, all right, because if they went looking around for other people and they didn't convict him, then be like, this guy's saying that he was with him and you guys didn't arrest
Right.
him. So it's kind of a hard position too.
That is very difficult. I feel like it's hard because, yeah, you don't want to be like narrow-minded and you don't want to be fixated on anything. But like you said, if the evidence is all there, it feels kind of open and shut for these guys.
Yeah. And the guy's saying that he was there too.
Right. And
But
some
we
people-
weren't in the room where it happened.
That is that from something? Why'd you sing
Yeah.
it? What is it from?
It's from Hamilton.
Oh, is it? That's
Yeah,
funny.
I think. But I was gonna say like maybe the cops are like if you were the cop like investigating it,
Maybe we think like that.
maybe what am I trying to say? Like maybe they were like trying to like lead the guy to confess a certain thing, and so maybe if we were in the room where it happened, we would want to look at other suspects because it's like we're bringing this guy along. No, not catching.
Sorry, I forgot to listen for so much of that. I realized I was like, wow,
I thought you were gonna say yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I totally didn't listen.
I was meaning basically that if like we were the cops and like hearing everything, if we'd be like, oh, like this guy is actually credible and he's bringing up all this stuff, or if we'd be
Yeah.
like guiding him along and it's
Trying to
like
get
maybe
this-
we should look at other people because this guy doesn't know as much as
True.
we think he knows.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we'd have no idea how we'd respond if we were in their same position.
Yeah. Anyways,
Well, so because of that, though, some people think maybe the detectives didn't really do a great job. But some people also say maybe the defendant's side is who didn't do a very good job.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. The defense attorney doesn't sound like he really worked too hard.
Yeah, his attorney, her name is Cristina Gutierrez. She was under actually some heavy scrutiny after this case all went down for not doing her job very well.
Ooh.
Like, she may have been sick with like MS and some stuff at the time. I don't know if she was diagnosed with MS at the time. We do know that she had really bad health issues later. But some people say maybe, I just want to give that little caveat, maybe she was going through her own stuff. Maybe that's a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But some things that people point to is whether the defense team just frankly butchered a lot of it, especially the cross-examinations. So she hammered Jay on inconsistencies, but she never really, she did not evidently do a very good job of kind of like hammering it in. You okay?
Yeah. I was just thinking.
Okay.
I wonder if like other like jobs should have more should have like medicals like aviation.
Probably.
Like if you're not performing because you're not physically fit, it's like you're kind of screwing people if you're an attorney or a doctor or
For
like
sure.
a police officer or something.
Yeah. Like with all the mental health stuff specifically too.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the FAA, you just hate them. Like with
Yeah,
how serious they
same.
are about like medicals and
Anything.
stuff. But obviously you want a healthy pilot, and I imagine you want a healthy attorney and doctor and everything else as well. So that's a good point. I never really thought about that. If they even look into that whatsoever.
I don't know.
If you're a lawyer,
I'm
let
sure
us
there's
know.
like some kind of background check or something and
I'd assume so, because you
mental
can't have like
thing,
someone
but
that's
not
like off their rocker.
every year.
True.
Or like health wise, like this person's dealing with like a health issue and they're
Or, like, a
still
death in the
like,
family.
prosecuting a case. It's like they're
Right.
probably not going to be doing very good.
Right. And so I do want to give her that little caveat that maybe something was going on. But people were saying that she often got sidetracked, confusing jurors instead of making Jay look unreliable. They like really couldn't follow what she was saying, which is such a weird thing. They say, I guess jurors later said that her
I feel like
presence-
that's what I'd do if I was a lawyer.
As
I would
you
like be
just-
going, yeah.
Yes,
it's
you
like
just showed us trying to hit your
demonstrated.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, obviously, these
In my
people
mind,
are-
it made sense.
I mean, you didn't train to be a lawyer. These people like are known to like they're supposed to be precise and clear and like strong-minded, like very firm and like what, like obviously like show that they have belief in what they're saying.
Yeah.
But jurors later said her presentation felt unfocused and it was really hard to follow, which
That's sad.
that's a bad look, right? So another thing that she didn't do very properly was that cell tower evidence that we talked about. The AT&T fax cover sheet specifically warned that incoming calls could not be used at track locations. And Gutierrez failed to highlight this to the jury, letting the state's phone map appear airtight. And so it sounds like she knew that at the time and that was evidence she had, but it wasn't presented to the jury. So I feel like that was like one of like the main three things, right? The cell phone, the car, and the motive / testimony. Super weird. But I'd say the biggest mess up on the defense side was the lack of witness follow-up and verifying alibis. So that being said, Asia McClain.
Who's that?
That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Oh.
She should have been
Star witness.
so well known
Yeah.
throughout this whole thing. Within days of Adnan's arrest, a classmate named Asia McClain wrote him 2 handwritten letters. In them, she insisted she had seen him in the Woodlawn Public Library on January 1999, at precisely the time the state claimed Hae was being killed. So one thing that Adnan would say is like between the end of class and before track, there was like an hour gap, and the public library was right across the street. It was basically part of campus. And he said that a lot of times he would go over to the library, check emails, hang out there until it's time for track, and then he would head back to school and go to track. And so when he was asked about his alibi, he would say things like, I was probably at the library. I always check my emails, you know. He was saying probably, and there's a chance and all that stuff. And then right after he was arrested, this classmate came up and said, no, I remember, I saw you there. You were at the library.
Yeah.
But Adnan's memory was so faded that it seemed like Adnan and Asia's stories didn't really line up. So kind of weird. Asia even said her boyfriend had been there to pick her up, and he could also back up her account that Asia was talking to Adnan at the library on this day.
Yeah.
If true, it would have been a rock-solid alibi. But Adnan's defense attorney...
Especially during the time that they say he's going to be murdering her.
Yeah, like literally the exact time frame. Like if that's true, if they have 2 witnesses, Asia and her boyfriend, saying like, yes, we were talking to Adnan. He was for sure like there at the library on this day. None of this would have happened. He would have completely been covered. But Cristina Gutierrez never even really contacted Asia.
Come on.
Never called her to testify and never even investigated really that lead. She points to the fact...
know about it?
Well, she points to the fact... No, she did.
And
they had the handwritten letters. They had a copy of them.
Weird.
She pointed to the fact that it didn't line up with Adnan's memory. Which I feel like as a defense attorney, you're like, no, you remember.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
So I'm sure you could remind him.
Yeah, for sure. And be like, oh, does that sound familiar? Do you think it was on this Wednesday?
He's like, no, it's definitely...
Yeah, no, I really didn't do anything that day.
I definitely needed to ride somewhere.
No, really. And so the journalist of Serial, she went and like started finding all these people like all these years later and starts like...
She was bad A.
Yeah, she was bad A. And she was interviewing...
What her name was.
Sarah. She was interviewing all these people, and years later, she got in contact with Asia, and Asia reaffirmed her statement in sworn affidavits, saying she was willing to testify at trial and was baffled that no one ever reached out to her. For many critics of the conviction, Asia's letters stand as one of the most glaring missed opportunities and like a simple verified alibi that was ignored.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty big deal.
I know.
And like one thing that people bring up is like, well, how does Asia remember that's the right day? There's a couple things that she says like is why she remembered it was that day specifically. One being the weather. Such an interesting thing. But she recalled it as like the particularly cold and snowy January afternoon. This was like the first snow, like big snow, and they end up having like school closed the next few days. And she's like, that was like the last day before school was canceled for a couple days.
Yeah.
And so she's like, that literally...
I've never had that, but I bet it's memorable.
I feel like we had days that we didn't go to elementary school because it was raining so hard. Is that true?
No, I don't
I'm
think so.
pretty sure because I remember someone fact check SSC elementary school.
No, I think you have days where you don't go to recess.
I know you don't go to recess. You have to go in like the cafeteria and stuff or something.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn like we had like 1 or 2 days. I'm like, we don't have to go to school today, but maybe it was like a
don't think
holiday
so.
and I was just dumb.
Probably that.
Yeah. So we'll ask our mom. Mom, she's such a loyal listener.
Yeah.
Did that happen? So she points out the weather. She said, no, I knew it was the day before. My boyfriend can attest. Another thing was, I guess it was like the night of a big basketball game. And she's like, no, the basketball game was that night. And they went back through school records, like nowadays when they're looking back on this case, and found out that there was a basketball game on that night.
She just has a good memory.
Well, the fact is that it's not that she just remembers this 20 years later, but she wrote the letters right away, and she probably went through this a lot in her mind. Like,
Yeah.
was I talking to him that day? Because if she wrote those letters, like, within a week after she went missing, or within the same month even, I'm sure she ran through the days regularly. Like, no, that was for sure that day.
Or she might be like, I only went to the library on the day of the game. The game was on that day that it was snowy.
Right.
It's like it's connecting. She's like, I talked to him at the library. The only day I went to the library.
Right. Well, it wasn't the only day she went to the library, honestly, because her boyfriend would pick her up from there. But she says she remembers this day specifically because her boyfriend was so late. That's why he was...
Because she was freezing.
Yeah, she's in the library.
Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to...
like hours late. Like,
Yeah.
so
Oh, wow.
she gets out of school earlier than everybody else.
You sound sketchy now.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just kidding.
Where was he during the time period? No, he... So I guess she got out of school, like, earlier released. And so she was at the library since like 1 or 12 or something, like early in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So she was there for a few hours before Adnan even showed up. So she
Dang.
started talking to him, and then her boyfriend rolled up.
What's her name again?
Asia McLean.
Asia.
And so she was saying like, no, I remember that day because I was so pissed off at my boyfriend that I wanted to go talk to Adnan. And I guess her boyfriend was kind of like, why are you talking to that guy? You know, that kind of type of boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so they
I
both
was wondering.
are aware that she was talking to him. But
She has a book.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Confessions of a Serial Alibi.
Oh, that was her? I didn't even put that together.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, so, like, as we know, she wrote 2 letters to him. And so, like, the timing bolstered her credibility since it wasn't just memory from decades later that she's recalling. Like, she has handwritten letters within the time period that she would have remembered.
Yeah.
Asia didn't just vaguely remember this day. She tied to those specific external events, like you said, the weather, the boyfriend, the basketball game. And so, that being said, let's discuss about Hae's current boyfriend, Don.
Okay.
Don's alibi. Okay.
Don, what's his last name?
I don't remember. I don't know if I wrote it down.
All right, no worries. Keep moving on.
Oops, I just bumped that. Okay. On the day Hae disappeared, she was supposed to see her new boyfriend, Don, after school. Well, she was supposed to drop off her cousin, and then she was supposed to meet Don, I think, at the mall or something. They're planning on hanging out. That alone made him one of the last people expected to be with her on that day. Yet, police quickly moved past him and focused almost exclusively on Adnan, which we know. But Don's official alibi was that he had been working all day at Len's crafter store. But digging deeper shows how shaky that claim really was. So, normally, Don worked at the Owings Mills Mall branch, but only on January 13th, only that day, he was scheduled at the Hunt Valley location, okay? This is the store that his mom managed. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
Even stranger, his time card from that day carried a different employee ID number than his usual one. And not just different, it was a higher seniority number than his mom's ID badge. So that discrepancy has fueled theories that the records were manipulated to cover for him. Seems weird. The only one day he used a different ID badge, supposedly.
Can his mom like manipulate it? Is she like that high up?
She can manipulate it. She's
Ooh.
that high up. So the timing of that potential manipulation is where things get like complicated. So if the records were falsified, it may have been very early on, within days of Hae's disappearance. This is before the body was even found and they even knew Hae was murdered. So that raises the question, why would anyone rush to like manipulate and like make up this alibi so quickly, unless they had already anticipated that police were going to come knocking, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, some people argue that the payroll systems back then allowed for adjustments at any point, and since Dawn's mother was the manager, she had the authority to enter or approve hours whenever. So some people are like, oh, they manipulated the timestamps well before like they even knew Hae was dead. That's like obvious sign of guilt and covering. And some people are like, well, if it was manipulated, maybe it was after the fact because they wanted to make sure that Dawn was covered. Yeah. Either way, it seems a little manipulative. One thing that some podcasters noted was that Hae usually had a pager on her, and it was not covered in her personal belongings. So she always had it like on her in her car, whatever.
When they don't want the person to know who's paging
right.
her.
So skeptics think that there's a chance that maybe someone paged her, and she's like, oh, I'm going to stop by here before I pick up my cousin. And that's when she was attacked and murdered, and the pager was brought with them, taken away, so evidence. That it wasn't used in evidence. Right. So just a thought. Don seems like he could be a sketchy character. It seems weird that his mom may have been involved. The one time he was at a different store, the one time he used a different ID, it doesn't seem rock solid to me.
I don't really get how you use a different ID. I feel like every ID is connected to you.
Now with like digital stuff.
I know, but like back in like for example, our employee numbers 256. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say it all. But wouldn't if I came in and mine was 14825 or something, right. They wouldn't be like, oh, it's Blake.
That's what's like, confusing is like. It's like, okay, it was a different ID number, but it had your name next to it. That had to have been manipulated is what they're saying.
Yeah. So that's what, like, he checked in as. So it'd be like, oh, yeah, Don was here. And they look and they're like, oh, it's
like, that's
weird.
not his badge.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it was
it's like
changed.
the check-in thing.
Right. And they're like, wait a second. Why is this name different than the ID? So either way, it's just kind of unusual. Store switch, the ID discrepancy, and the fact that his only alibi came from his mom. It should have made Don maybe a bigger focus for investigators. Instead, his story was just kind of accepted at face value. I'm not saying Don is involved either. I'm just saying this is what some people are pointing to when they talk about investigators having tunnel vision. Attorney Gutierrez, Gutierrez, did have declining health, like I said, during that time. And so by the late 1990s, Gutierrez was struggling with multiple sclerosis and other health issues.
Oh, wow.
And she was actually later disbarred in 2001 for mishandling client funds. So this led people to believe that maybe Adnan's defense attorney or his defense suffered because she was already kind of slipping as a trial lawyer. Like, it sounds like she already had some kind of own personal agenda going on. So some people say even with Adnan, or even if he did murder Hae, his trial still seemed to have been a little bit unfair. So if anything, people say he should have gotten retrialed with all the new evidence to properly provide all the proper information, and so that jurors can make the most accurate decision.
Yeah.
So I think it's not even a matter of did he or didn't he. A lot of people are saying was it fair? Was it not fair? Was all the evidence provided properly?
Yeah.
So was there corruption? We don't know. Was it mishandled? I don't know. These are just some things to point at on whether or not the case was handled maybe properly or not. So like I said, I'm not saying somebody else did it. I don't know for sure. But here's the overall rundown, and we're going to lead to where the case stands today.
Really fast?
Yeah.
I think they all kind of sound sketchy.
Do you have
for
any
their own
one
reasons.
leading than the other?
No. I think Don sounds sketchy. Really sketchy. I think Adnan, a lot of the evidence sounds sketchy, but also not sure.
Yeah.
And then I think the guy that found the body sounds sketchy too.
Jay?
Yeah, they don't even talk about him.
Or Jay, I guess, didn't find the body, but...
Not Jay, the guy that found the body.
No, he was a witness. He was fine. I don't think he ended up being sketchy in the end and stuff. I think he testified.
Yeah, I'm that sounds sketchy. Just take a pee and find a body
I feel
right by the...
Though if you were the one who committed murder, you wouldn't want the body found. You'd be I'm not going to point at where the evidence is.
Yeah, but then, boom, you're a witness. You're not...
You're a suspect?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's their plan, but a lot of times it backfires on them when they do that. But
what about Jay? You don't think he's suspicious anymore?
I do think he's suspicious, but yeah, I think he is. I just don't know what his motive is.
Yeah. I don't. That's the tough thing. Is like, why would you even say all that stuff? First of all, like, if that didn't happen, yeah, why would you even?
Yeah, why would you? Yeah, why would you say anything?
Yeah, why would you say anything? So it feels like there has to be some sort of motive for him to even say that. So either he was involved or like was he coerced? Like whether the cops like give me something and he's like okay, like maybe he's easily influenced, and so it was like just like his personality unfortunately just went with it. I don't know. I haven't decided for myself. I honestly kind of lean towards Adnan being probably one of the more or the least likely of the options we talked about. I kind of think that Don seems very suspicious with his schedule or his routine only changing on the day that Hae was like murdered.
Yeah,
That's kind of weird to me. I don't know how Jay's involved. That's confusing. I don't know. I'm not saying any of those guys could be it. Like it could be someone completely different that we haven't even talked about. What?
I said allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Like I don't know who it was. I don't know. Like I don't know anything. Could be literally a random stranger, right?
Yeah.
So
could be John Wayne Gacy.
Could be. You never know. Oh, also though, this I didn't write this in our notes, but one thing that when skeptics point out how bad the defense attorney did, allegedly, yeah, according to some people's opinions, is that they say that I guess the year prior, a girl was murdered and found in a shallow grave, very similar situation, and they never looked into, and they had found, this is all going off memory, something had to do involved with like they had found the murder. He wasn't in jail at the time that Hae was.
Who wasn't?
The guy who killed the girl the previous
year.
year.
Found her?
Yeah.
Oh, him? I mean?
Him. They found him, yeah. And, like, I don't know what the situation was, but he wasn't in jail at the time of Hae's murder. And, like, why wouldn't you look into this guy who is now charged with the
super similar.
Yeah. And so, like, things like that. It's like, it could be a completely irrelevant random person.
Yeah.
But the idea is, like, hey, you didn't look at anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, is that fair, right? So, as we know, the rundown. 1999 was the conviction. So that's when Adnan Syed was convicted of first-degree murder in Hae Min Lee's death, largely on the testimony of Jay Wilds and the cell phone records. And he was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. In 2014 is when that Serial podcast came out. And this is when, like, millions of people found out about this case, got heavily involved. All the details were coming forth. And then in 2016 to 2019 is when appeals were getting like put out, and Asia's alibi kind of came back into light of how accurate was that, and the letters are brought back up, and just kind of reviewing all the previous evidence. In 2022, this was interesting, DNA testing. This is what we talked about way back then. We're bringing it up now. You said, was there anything DNA or forensic that they found in the car? They found in her car Hae's clothing, shoes, and other evidence. And now they're at this point in time, obviously it's 2022. You think they would have done this a lot sooner. Mm-hmm. So there's new DNA testing that was performed. And their findings led that DNA from multiple unidentified individuals was found, including female DNA. None of the DNA matched Adnan Syed. None of it.
Interesting. Where was this DNA?
This was on her clothing and shoes.
Oh.
And the belongings in her car.
Weird.
Which I feel like it would have been
kind of hard
shocking.
though too.
Yeah, because anyone could have been in the car.
Yeah, or like the day before her best friend was in her car with her and
yeah.
Else.
I think some of this was found on her body as well. I don't know which parts were on the body and which was in the car, but also I was like, it wouldn't have been shocking if his DNA was in the car, considering they've been dating for so long.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like anyone, like a lot of people's DNA could be on her if it's like blood or
right. So I think
like
that was probably the primary. I mean, this was like touch DNA, but
yeah.
I'm sure like they were trying to get the DNA off. Well, that's the hard thing too. I think off her clothing she was wearing and stuff. Mm-hmm. The DNA profiles were uploaded to CODIS, and no matches were found. None. Ooh. So prosecutors admitted this evidence, like along with the concerns about the alternate suspects, the cell phone data, literally everything we talked about. Like they're like, yeah, like that undermined confidence in the conviction. They're like, okay, maybe we did miss some things. In September of 2022, a judge vacated Syed's conviction, and he was released after 23 years in prison.
He's out?
Okay, we're going to keep going through it. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I know. I feel like everyone heard this case up until recently, and no one knows what's going on now. So, yes, in 2022, he was released from prison. But in 2023, 2024, his conviction was reinstated.
That sucks.
Yeah, so Hae's family appealed it, actually, arguing that they had not been given proper notice of the hearing. And so in March of 2023, like Maryland's court reinstated the conviction on like procedural grounds. And they're like, the family is right. Like, you're back in, you know? And in August 2024, so over a year later, the Maryland Supreme Court upheld that decision, leaving Adnan legally convicted again, though he not returned to prison. So what that means, this is like...
It means he served his time or something?
This is like the most like updated information. So in 2025, in February of this year, prosecutors dropped their effort to reverse the conviction and instead supported relief under the state's Juvenile Restoration Act, which allows reconsideration of long sentences given to minors. Obviously, he was only 17 at the time.
Yeah.
On March 6th of this year, a Baltimore judge resentenced Syed to time served plus 5 years of probation, citing his good conduct and that he was only 17 at the time of the crime. Adnan Syed now lives free, though technically still convicted for murder and under supervised probation still.
Wow.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So more than 25 years have passed since Hae Min Lee was killed, and yet the story kind of remains unsettled. Adnan Syed has walked free, but he's not fully exonerated, still convicted. DNA evidence excludes him, yet no new suspects have been tried or like interviewed to the crime or tied to the crime. The courts have reduced his sentence, but the conviction still lingers. And it leaves us with the uncomfortable truth that the justice system can free a man without declaring him innocent, and a family can be left without real answers. Mm-hmm. So the question remains, if Adnan Syed didn't kill Hae, then who did?
Dang, that's crazy. I didn't know the end.
Yeah.
I didn't remember any of it really, but...
I know. I feel like when I came across this case, I wasn't expecting the most current updated information to be literally this year.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so
Kinda
it's
cool.
kind of fun to do an update with the most current information. Like I said, this is based off my research. There's probably so much more I did not touch on, considering there are many podcasts that go like series deep into every testimony, every little detail. So if it interests you, go listen to that. This was the most surface level, just to get a scope of what happened on that fateful day in 1999.
Yeah.
Do you have any, I was going to say not so fun facts, but I guess you're more of a true crime news guy these days.
Yeah. All right, let me load some more and give you a little update.
Any news on what happened with the 50 plus missing kids in Virginia?
No, I haven't. I just been seeing TikToks about it, but
It's so sad. I lived in Virginia, as we know, for a few months, a few months, I guess, a year. And I have friends over there that have been messaging me saying, like, have you seen this? Like, it's a legit thing. And I guess people in Virginia are getting kind of worried about it. So, I don't know. Stay safe. It's kind of suspicious. Hopefully we get more answers to that soon.
all right. So we'll start off with Phoenix because it's our home state, our hometown.
Cool.
Man sentenced for fatally stabbing wife in Phoenix parking lot. A 36-year-old man will spend almost 2 decades behind bars for fatally stabbing his wife in a parking lot last year.
Was this caught on camera? I feel like I remember this.
I don't know. It said police responded to a possible stabbing outside of Home Depot. Witnesses walking nearby reportedly heard a woman yelling for help and found the victim, identified by the news as Alicia Grant, in the driver's seat of the vehicle with multiple stab wounds. Grant's husband, Dennis, was reportedly in the passenger seat at the time.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's horrible.
Former Space Force sergeant sentenced for shooting at 2 teens and killing 1.
What the heck?
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Do they know, like, why? That seems a little absurd
Yeah.
and sudden.
Let's let's see. A former Space Force sergeant who shot 2 teens, including 1 fatality after a car alarm went off, will spend over 5 decades behind bars. So it sounds like maybe they broke into his car or something, or he thought they did. On August 15th, a judge sentenced 29-year-old Orest, I don't know how to say his name, to 54 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. A jury previously convicted him in June of second-degree murder and second-degree attempted murder. The district attorney's office said the passenger, a 14-year-old boy, sustained a gunshot wound to the back of the head while he was fleeing from the crash. So maybe it was a car crash they were trying to flee from. Like 2 juveniles fled the vehicle following the crash, and the defendant reportedly continued shooting at them. The driver, a 13-year-old boy, was already shot in the back of the head after a bullet reportedly punctured through the car and into the seat.
13-year-old driver?
13 and 14.
Wow.
So it sounds like he kind of went
some hood rat stuff.
Yeah, he kind of went too over the top to try to bring justice. Sounds like it sounds like it was like maybe a hit and run, and he started shooting at him, which
that's not the right response.
Yeah.
55 years.
54.
54 years. Wow.
North Carolina man accused of leaving medically fragile woman to die in the camper trailer.
What the heck?
Camper trailer. Authorities recently arrested 61-year-old man on suspicion of leaving a 47-year-old woman with medical issues in a camper trailer, exposing her to cold temperatures and causing her to die.
That's so sad. That kind of sounds like what you talked about last week with leaving the kids in a trailer.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It is.
Like neglect.
Yeah. All right, we'll do one more. Alright, this one's weird. So a father allegedly paid a woman to kidnap his kids and bring them to Mexico. Authorities recently arrested a 47-year-old woman on suspicion of kidnapping 2 children for their father, who doesn't have legal custody of them. The police learned about the alleged abduction of 2 juveniles, 11 and 13, on August 14th. Officers responded to Rosewood Avenue and discovered the kids were staying with relatives at the time. Sydney Sanchez allegedly arrived and said she needed to take the kids on their mother's behalf to her location out of state. Police allege Sanchez left with the kids, but investigators found out their mother never asked anyone to take the juveniles. So
weird.
Yeah, Sanchez was booked in Kane County Jail and faces charges of kidnapping, child abduction, and unlawful restraint. We need to finish with a Florida man.
Oh, yes.
A Florida teacher allegedly drove under the influence and crashed into the school fence.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
People are so dumb. Any injuries that we know of?
I don't know.
That's crazy. Teacher, too. Anyways, well, thanks for the news.
Yep.
And that is our case for this week. I know there was a lot to it. Please go look at the original Serial podcast if you're interested. There's just so much. I'm not saying that one thought is better than the other. I don't know about Adnan. I don't know if he's guilty or not, but I hope the family feels satisfied with how this all played out and feels justice for their daughter. But that is this week's case. We'll be back next week with an episode of Siblings in Crime.
Bye.